Good evening, everyone. Welcome to a Vitruvian Meeple production without the Vitruvian Meeple. Trevor has got family business today, and so we figured we'd do a little bit of while the GM's away. We have Julie, Ray, Patrick, Matt, and me, ECAT. And we thought we'd just do a little bit of conversation, kind of along the lines of our after hours show, doing a little bit of theorycraft, kind of where we want to go with our characters, kind of thing, maybe discuss some of the other campaigns and go from there. So I'm just going to kind of toss it out to everybody. Does anybody have anything they'd like to talk about from what's going on with any of our stuff?
So what we know about the big bad guys, aside from the biggest bad guy, are like the gnomes trying to wipe out everybody on the planet because people made fun of them because they're short or something?
I don't know. I'm reading into it that Ray's similarian of a backstory has some gnome spiracy in it. So
Oh, most
maybe just
definitely.
one faction there.
Trevor has done an excellent job weaving in elements of Tequil's backstory. And kind of geeked out by it just because if you didn't catch it the first time around, I haven't done that much creative writing about one particular topic since I think high school, if that. So, yeah, there's a number of things that have already been alluded to that I know as the player, but Tequil doesn't, because he grew up completely removed from gnomish culture beyond his immediate family. He didn't grow up on Verkbar. So, and honestly, like I didn't go into great detail as to, how much was taught to him because his dad and the five sons were all removed from Verkbar Mount right as they were entering the age when they were to go to formal schooling. So they left as relatively small children. So there wasn't much to pass along to begin with. So this is going to be a big learning experience for Tequil. So he recognizes it, but he has no cultural reference for who he's hearing, why he understands it, or anything like that.
Yeah, this is where we get to metagame so that we don't metagame in the game.
Right?
Yeah.
Yo dog.
I'm really bad at hosting this kind of stuff. So anyway. I don't even remember where we left off in the game, to be honest.
Well,
so there was the
I
whole because go ahead, Matt.
Because my goose is cooked. Literally. Well, just knocked out, but
Yeah.
Yeah, we were
we'll see what
two
happens.
children who became horrid monsters. Well, the two of you were on a spa day, of course.
Deservedly so.
Because split the party always makes sense.
Yeah. But I seem to remember, though, that we realized something was wrong and got dressed in game to find you guys, so.
Yeah, I'm really hoping you two show up and, save our asses because we're about to get murdered.
Just drag you off to a temple, get all healed up. Because, being a paladin, I don't have that kind of ability yet because we haven't reached level 2.
Right. I just remembered that again. Information that is that only Tequila knows because I had rolled a 20 and on the whatever defense, and it's like, I want to trace. There's this energy and I want to trace. And Trevor gave this whole scenario of like, and he's just like, oh, I'll introduce it here. And Tequila doesn't know what he saw. And certainly like at the time at what where all the characters are, he's not going to have time to disclose it. But I think Tequila saw one of the big bads for Harewood, because there was like something in the whole squidgy black thing, and then it was a duck. So that will eventually come out. But apparently all of the big bads are colliding or colluding with each other.
Because here's the question, are all the big bads really just the big bad under different names?
Yeah.
That is a good question.
That is a good question. I don't think so, but then again, I'm not. I still will put myself in the relative noob of just not going through a whole bunch of convoluted story arcs and going, well, I decided my backstory and the big bad in that whole arc as this way. And we know what's his face? Arashki?
No, Arashki's the goddess. Ishun.
Ishun,
Is her
excuse me.
husband,
Yeah.
Ishun.
Yeah, Ishun. So I would think like, huh? Like, how would that I don't see them as being the same, but then again, right? I don't have the perspective of going, but if I was a sick fucking GM, I could convolute it this way and make it happen.
Right. Have you met Trevor?
Yes, I've met Trevor. I have known him the longest out of all of you.
Yeah.
I think a fun thing that would be really handy is to be able to look at Trevor's bookshelf when, he has us over at some point, because that tells you a lot about somebody's character as a GM. Is the
Okay,
kind
Ray,
of
next
stuff
time
they
you go
like to
for
read.
dinner, start taking pictures.
Yeah.
No, listen, it's not a bookshelf. It's a game shelf.
Still.
And it's multiple shelves.
Now, I do
Start
know he
taking
also
pictures.
he does love his e-reader. So
It's true,
you
yeah.
can just hack into his account and get a list
Yes.
of books and stuff. But
Yeah, I was about to say, joke's on you. Like most of the stuff I read is either ebooks or PDFs of games. So
ebooks are nice. They
We'll
don't
be
take
right
up
back.
room in my house.
yes, well, and that's what I
Yeah.
because there's a lot of reading material is nice, but I'm never going to read it again. And although I love books, they're not all sacred. So they don't.
Books is just
Something
pretty
that's going to
house
be
insulation.
Yeah.
right, but I've got enough of that at the moment, and I'm also broke as fuck. So
So this is where we tell all our 3 followers, make sure you have a library card. Go use your library card. Libraries are cool. We like
Yes.
libraries.
and there's even digital libraries now. So
Yes.
Yes.
which you'll need a library card for anyway. But
Yes. Yep. So there's our political statement for the day.
Yeah. Support your libraries.
But yeah, I have been wondering whether or not Trevor has been doing the whole grand arc of the pantheon that's out there, that they each have just assumed physical forms and names that are relevant to each group, but they are the same entity.
Yeah.
That would certainly make sense as a unification factor,
Yeah.
because he does seem to be, it's like, okay, How do I deal with all of these 5 threads? I
Right.
know, put them all in the same room and let them
Mhm.
hash it out that way. And then it becomes, how do I just need to draw them together. I don't need to solve anything. We need to bring Ishun and what Tequil's got going and whatever's chasing Zell and what's hunting. Just like we just gotta put it all together in the same place. Because then our interactions and discoveries are going to massively move the whole plot forward.
Yes. Yeah, that's very much along the lines of what I will tend to do, especially when you have like, a whole bunch of very varied people with each their own storyline, is just put them together and just create connections between them, or even better, let the players create connections, just pay attention to that. And then,
Mhm.
it simplifies the story as it goes.
Mhm.
The hardest part's the beginning where anything can happen, because you don't know what the players want to do yet. But as you go, then things solidify in your wicked little mind, and then eventually towards the end, you're like, hey, I've got them. Not that I ever, think ill thoughts.
No, no, not at
No,
all.
never.
No.
And
Oh,
yeah,
God,
and you
no.
never make me stop what I'm doing to yell upstairs, "What are you cackling about?"
Yeah,
'Cause it
because in the
usually means
end,
that's somebody's doom.
those of us who have been GMs and stuff have a small amount of sadistic glee in torturing our friends.
Yes.
I look forward to discovering that thread.
Yay.
I'm paying attention as best as I can.
So it's
I'm
been
gonna have
over 20
questions.
years since I GM'd.
I don't think it's
Been
quite
well
been
over
that
20
long.
years.
Yeah, I don't think it's been quite that long since I've GM'd, but
It's been a hot
actually,
minute.
possibly it might actually be that long.
Yeah. Because say my mom's been gone 18 years. So it's been at least 20, if not closer to 24.
So one of the storyline things I have been pondering with how things are going is in the beginning, it was questionable whether or not we are just miscellaneous hoo-has dealing with a really screwed up world. If we become important to the bad guys because we're messing something up for them, or if we are integral, one and all, to the plan. And I'm trying to figure out which one of those we are, because that's usually the spectrum of things. Like especially with the interactions and visions that Tech has had, tells us a bit like they know us. At least by now, they know who we are. They
Right.
probably knew us fairly early on, each for different reasons. Um, with Tix, it seems that they are not expecting him to be a problem, but they know who he is. So it was more of a like, oh, there's this guy, and then make you disconnect or whatnot. That's very telling. That like
Mhm.
they know who Tick is. You're a known entity to at least the top minions of the BBEG, if not known directly to them. And then we have to figure out why, because that will be the one of those ultimate things that will explain what their plan is.
Mm-hmm.
What do they want from us? Maybe kill us. That's usually a convenient way to go about it. Maybe they want us to do something really stupid that'll enable everything for them. So they're just kind of punishing
I
us all.
think that's more likely because we're not powerful enough to be a threat.
Yeah.
So it's more likely trying to get us to work for them, even inadvertently.
Mm-hmm.
Now down the line, once we get more powerful, aka have reached higher level tiers, yeah, the tables could turn and they could decide that now it's time to, get rid of us because,
That's one of the fun GM powers out there is as a GM, you can control fate because you know how the, overall world and things about stuff that even your most powerful baddies don't know. And so you as a GM have more understanding of the world than the big bad guy does. So the big bad guy understands the world through your own through your own development of the world, which it's like that nice top tier storytelling where the narrator has their own agenda and has things they know and don't know, so they might lie to you. They aren't able to tell you the full story and whatnot, and so usually that's what you end up doing with the bad guy. Like you as a GM, you know absolutely everything. You know what the players want and all of that. Your bad guy doesn't know everything you know. So the bad guy's agenda is based upon, that somewhat faulty knowledge because it has to be faulty, otherwise we cannot win. And no GM writes a game like that unless you're Gary Gygax making the frickin' Tomb of Horrors.
Yeah, but none of us really like the whole antagonistic GM thing.
Yeah, I like a GM who's kind of a jerk. That's fun.
Right.
But
Having played a game where, what we thought was inconsequential roles during character creation ended up sealing our doom halfway through the first actual night of playing, I'm kind of against the whole, let's see how much we can fuck over the players, like, because that's just really no fun for
Yeah,
anybody.
that's a dick move.
no story is told if the party wipes.
Exactly.
And that's something that a lot of GMs don't understand because like the old D&D things is not a role-playing game, strictly speaking. It is more or less the same spirit as like miniatures combat system. So,
Yeah, because it
so like battle tech or 40K or whatnot. You're
yeah,
there
because it
to
it literally evolved from
yeah.
that. D&D was a Gary Gygax took Chainmail, which was a tabletop war game, and turned it into his own thing. But yeah, it's
It was a vital step in the development, but still it's a very different thing from how we approach it now, which is a collaborative storytelling system more than anything else. So yeah,
yeah.
somebody might die. Like if anybody dies in one of my games, it's either temporary or it is monumental for the plot, and the player really wanted that.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
the whole TPK thing. Sorry,
Yeah.
go on.
I was saying, yeah,
Um,
basically taking taking agency away from the characters is something that should always be avoided. I mean, or if you're going to have an offside discussion, have a plan. If you're planning and plan to do that, but discuss it with the player offline beforehand, even in some sort of general terms, to see if they're okay with that, knowing that it's going to end up furthering something. But
Mhm.
yeah.
And with
And
kind of
sorry.
oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna mention M, my partner, uses the analogy of like a bad teacher with the whole total party kill thing. Like, if some of the students fail the test, that's one thing. If all of the students fail the test, that is a reflection on the teacher.
yes.
And so if the party wipes, that's a reflection on the GM. And not necessarily the players making suboptimal choices or what have you.
Yeah. I mean, there is always the possibility of, the rogue, not the rogue, but well, actually, of like the rogue completely fucking up, a detect traps, in a dungeon, or or like the wizard, casting fireball in way too small of a space and not being able to be talked out of it, which, there are those random things where it's just like the player does something stupid and it can actually take out the whole party. But the GM should try to mitigate that, and
There's
Yeah, I
always
think
a way to take a player wipe or a party death or a player death and put them back into the story. There,
yep.
because this is fantasy or horror, or there's tons of stuff. Like if this crew all ends up getting killed, like our gods can just pick us up, shake us off, like boom. Okay, go on, you're important. You have stuff to do. Keep moving.
Yeah.
Oh, but I was looking forward to being dead. Too bad. You got work to do.
You're not dead yet.
Was having a really nice nap.
Mhm.
For instance, I for powers that be, I actually had a mechanic built in for this. Is one of the things the party doesn't know exists are emergency teleporters, which I totally stole from the background that I have in here, City of Heroes. So if anybody actually just ends up getting totally wiped out because they picked the wrong fight with the wrong thing, right before they die, they're teleported back into the hospital where they get to, you know, get healed up by everybody's favorite sociopath, probably make their lives slightly miserable. But that's it, like, okay, built in. Like I am prepared for this. I'm not even gonna have to think like, how do we do this? No, I already got it. Because bad things happen to people when you put them in, circumstances like that. But I was gonna say, the one of the things I'm looking forward to, I love a campaign that has a map because you hope that you get to visit all of the parts of the map. Especially as you add like little dots and stuff onto it, like here's the town of Chesterfield, and you're going to have to go there at some point. You really hope because it's on the map. It might, it's like Chekhov's gun. You really just need to have it there. So I always enjoy a campaign where it's like, this world has a map on it. When are we going to end up at that weird place? It has, you have to. Otherwise, why is it there?
Right?
Yeah.
Because the stupid AI put it there.
But yeah, I'm a big
I've been arguing with map making programs for the one that I will eventually be running.
Yeah, I haven't found a good one. And
None that I'm willing to pay money for. How's that?
There you go.
Yeah.
yeah, and
There's
I'm
good ones out there. I'm just not shelling out $80.
yeah for the
Okay.
for the software.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had it, there's an actual map maker that I would throw money at to commission stuff.
Map maker, make me a map.
Yeah, it's not like we have a whole lot of artistic people around or anything that could
Well, I mean,
turn
that's
a
the
bad
thing.
sketch
Is
into a great map.
Oh, I
also I
love
could
the I
get
think it
off
was
my
on
ass and
Instagram or
draw
something.
too.
Yeah. No, you find pictures of snow that's turned into slush and is melting.
Yes.
And so as it goes on, and then you just trace that. Like if you
Well,
need
I've also done
coastlines and islands and bays and shit, that's great
dumping
for it.
rice on on a table or spilling coffee.
Yes.
Have also been ways to do it.
See, I'm taking the easy route and got lucky because what I'm going to be running just happens on good old Earth.
Nice.
And the rest of it's going to be up to you, but I will have probably specific questions for damn near all of you at some point.
Yeah, that's what we're here for.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I'm really looking forward to being able to rotate through a couple different campaigns, be it like on whatever the like, alternate week we have the big campaign going on, and then we have other stuff we're doing because it's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just never get enough of gaming. It's like reading. I never tire of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Have at
oh,
least
another
3
book.
books going. We need to have at least 3 games going.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, don't we in one form or the other? Like there's Grimsby,
Yep.
um,
There's
there's
the
the
gnomes.
Oops All Goblins.
Oops,
Yep.
all
Goblins.
goblins.
Yeah.
And then now Blades in the Dark.
Yep,
Mm-hmm.
which I will happily do more with if folks are
And we will
interested.
happily play there.
Oh yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. Wasn't, it's more of a niche universe, so I wasn't sure
I
how
like
into
how
it people would be.
I like how you actually brought it to the world of core with
Yeah,
the coin,
Yeah. That was very, very cool.
so that we are now creating the Meepleverse.
Yeah. Actually, I mean, in all seriousness, I've got like 2 of my favorite book series are um female detectives in Victorian London. And I mean, it's not, does not have the fantasy, steampunky aspect to it, but but yeah, it's as an overall just setting and stuff. Yeah, I happen to be a big fan of it. I can
okay.
maybe do without, adding in, Jack the Ripper, but
Yeah, that's fine.
you know,
That guy does not need to be in this universe. Um, and
Oh,
the yes, Ray?
no. Go ahead. You weren't done.
Um, no, I was just gonna say that the also the other advantage of that is that a lot of the story is player directive. Like
Mhm.
once you get the initial heist going, you've got story threads, but you also have um, the whole gang management side of things, which will lead into its own stories as you like say, want to expand somewhere else and, get more benefits from that naturally leads
yeah,
into
Yeah, Apocalypse Engine is giving
so
me
that
some very bad ideas. Like ECAT and I were talking about a bunch of stuff on the way back from Coronation, and one of the ones is running a game set in the in Simon R. Green's world because he has a lot of disparate stuff all stuck together, and I'm like a huge fan of his Nightside series. And I'm like, Apocalypse World works for that because all the main characters in that story has just one cool thing about them. And so that's what the one part of that character sheet is like, well, which weird power do you want? And then which other stuff are you going to have? Okay, we can run from there. And that the books are fairly big is largely based on more world building than the character side because the sheet just coalesces all the stuff in the world building that you've done. And you can change it as you go if you want, which is a lot of fun.
yep, yep.
Mhm.
If you're looking down that route, um, Monster of the Week might,
Yes. Yeah,
which is a
I'm reading up on those as we speak because I want to run a Monster of the Week campaign, at least during Peace Week at War, maybe a bit during War Week as well. Because how hard is it to find like 3 to 5 players for a game? Yeah, and I think I have a good conceit for it too. So I think it'll be fun. It looks like an
nice.
interesting thing.
Yeah, I've only played it once as a, like pickup game. I mean, that's the other thing with gaming groups is sometimes you get into this like, oh, I want to do this, want to do that, and you know, um, not always able to get to all of the things you want to do. But
Oh, never,
Yeah.
never.
anyway, sorry, a few minutes ago, Ray was going to say something and
Oh
totally.
yeah, no, that's fine because like that's no, it's trust me, it's cool. Um, I was just gonna say that I have discovered how I'm going to make what I'm doing part of the Meepleverse as well. Uh, and again, I want to keep all my cards close to my chest for now because I'm going to be story-wise, you all are going to have homework. I'm going to need information. Um, and this is meant to be it's definitely not going to be one episode. Like
Can't do
it's
one
going to be
episodes.
yeah, no, we can do a short arc and it's going to be an overall plot arc as opposed to really, working on character arcs and stuff. But this is to get my flippin' feet wet and discover all of the ins and outs. And honestly, I think my biggest concern as I'm rolling over, it's like, okay, sandbox. One of y'all said something about a sandbox, and that stuck with me. So it's like, okay, I need to know my sandbox,
Mhm.
and the GM knows is the only omniscient one. Even when it comes to the big bad, it's like, okay, this is I've the pieces, many of the pieces are on the table, and not all of them are connected yet, and I haven't taken all of them out of the box. So we're working on it. But I think, and fortunately, like Trevor's going to be a huge help being local and just working through Foundry and like knowing, okay, that's a level 4 perception check or smite defense roll and all of that stuff.
Mhm.
That's going to be the big one. I'm just like knowing what to have y'all do at the time. So I
Mhm.
have a plan for how I want Trevor to help me and trying to figure this stuff out. So I went online actually last night and looked at, okay, well, hey, let's look up Foundry on YouTube and sort of a how to. And I don't know if any of y'all have done this, but there was something on Foundry VTT,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
and it is like some next level shit. Have you seen that? With the lights and the pulse, and you can
Yes.
layer the graphics and do this. And it's like, well, what? We
Yep.
ain't doing anything like that.
Yeah,
Modern
you can
VTT.
do fog of war, you can do line of sight stuff.
Modern VTTs were heavily inspired by third editions, third edition of Dungeons and Dragons, which, when done according to the book, you have miniatures and maps, and you're going around and in light of years and years of isometric video games where you're sending your party around like this guy moves 4 spots and this guy moves 2, so everyone's always waiting for that guy, but he kicks everyone's ass, so it's fine. And then so you open a door and you get to see through and stuff. They all do that. You can set that up. It takes a little doing, but all of them can operate around in a map, and then you can download map pieces, parts, and stuff to put in the maps all over. And that's a really cool thing. Like, I was tempted to do that with some of Powers That Be, but that would just require way more setup for
Okay.
something that the party may or may not completely get distracted away from doing.
Well,
Mhm.
yes, and because that's the whole thing. It's like, okay, I'm looking for maybe some online tutorial on just here's the mechanics. Here's the mechanics of the machine that helps you play the game, and did not find that at all. So,
Yeah, there's other stuff for if you look at the developer resources, it starts getting into that because it is basically a computer language system. So you can, give it instructions, and that's why like all the buttons on Trevor's sheets do things, or like when
yeah,
you
which is
skill, it
great.
automatically deducts your points. All of that's, something someone has to build. It's not part of the default thing. So you have plugins for various games, which people just
Yeah.
kind of wrote on top of the system. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot we can do with it.
Yeah, and I love, yeah, yeah, spending the time to get that kind of stuff set up and configured to make the actual gaming session itself be more seamless is absolutely fantastic.
Well, I think that what we're doing now compared to the first few levels of powers that be is just things are a lot smoother now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Get better at it. Like the last game I ran was pen and paper, and that's it. So it's a big adjustment trying to like, okay, so I need to come up with some sort of visual way to do this. So I'm going around like, okay, I need mole people. So I'm searching around for mole people, trying to find a good picture of what I want.
And when we did when we did the trash squatch and stuff, Patrick like found a good picture, but there was too much background. So basically, the smaller it got, the more it just blurred into nothingness. And it was like, here, use your Photoshop skills, and stuff. And I literally went in and got rid of the background and
Hmm.
stuff just to, and just, yeah, that was a lot. That was fun.
Well, the last time I DM'd, it was a turn-by-turn text-based online game. So,
Wow.
yeah. But I will say, because I've just checked the 2 Kickstarters I backed to help with mine, that mine's not going to be for at least another year and a half
Okay.
before the books ship. They expect the books to ship October of 2026.
Wow.
Although we can always, for good practice, one of the reasons I'm liking the whole alt week thing is we can cycle through, various episodic things. So it's like 1 to 2, maybe 3 nights for any particular episode, and then we go on to the next thing. Is you can pick something else up just to get practice of running a game. It can be a
Exactly.
low stakes thing, whatever, characters nobody cares about. Well, there's so many possibilities just because running the game is, a very different set of skills than playing it. And it's not that nobody like people like you need like you have to be the special chosen one to be able to be a GM. Anybody can do this. A whole bunch of us did it when we were like snot-nosed kids,
Right.
barely
Um,
understanding what half of the rule book was.
and did it badly back in the day, at least for me. Um,
But did y'all have fun?
mm, mixed mixed results, honestly.
Mhm.
So can I bring it back to Echoes?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Sure, of
Absolutely.
course.
What here's the question I wanted to ask, piggybacking off of Patrick's observation of like trying to see like, what's where we as the characters fit into all of the baddies' schemes and everything. How many adversaries of the whole party are our characters even aware of? Now, due to the fact that we're in Kosh, and this is part of the whole thing with Zahar, we know about Ishun. Like that's been brought front and center, and directly.
Mhm.
So now y'all know that there's some gnomish thing that is aware of Tequila and sounds ominous and sends black squidgies.
Yep. And just before, as Hereward was passing out, he got a vision of his own big bad from the past, which I think Takeedle saw a little bit of.
Tequila
Um,
did see that,
from
but
a
he doesn't understand the context yet.
Right. So the question
So
is if the two characters who don't really like each other that much are actually going to have a conversation about it at some point.
Mhm.
Oh, I absolutely want to be a fly in the wall with a big old bucket of popcorn for that.
Um,
That's the fun thing in gaming is, your characters develop, people you don't like become people you like, other people you don't like, but you have to work with. This is all
Yeah.
Yep.
fun things you can do, which is, why we like gaming so much.
Mhm.
yeah. Um,
Yeah, but that does go back to that question of like, is this all the same bad guy? Or are they minions of the same bad guy? Or we don't know, which is
yeah.
the fun things to try to weed out of them as we go along.
Yeah. And is Ishun basically doing the Narlatha Hotep thing and, you know, many avatars, many masks,
Mhm. And like, there's
or
certain things I know about Shun, well, as the one who created him, basically.
I will be right back.
Okay.
Um, and things about that I know that Zahar does not know. That I'm curious as to how Trevor is going to. Like, I have some speculations, especially with this whole you need to have the prophet of not only your God, but possibly the other God, the two sides of the same coin thing going that I think he's
Yeah.
playing with from something I wrote into her backstory.
Hmm.
yep. Um, and, things also sometimes happen organically because there's
Right.
bits of Harewood's backstory that I, you know, didn't know. And like that going back to the episode with the pool, you know, that
That
one
was
ghost from
cool.
his past that Trevor's like, okay, who's this person? I'm like, I don't know. I finally figured out who that is, but it, you know, and it's interesting because this has happened in a couple campaigns now where like the entire backstory doesn't get revealed to me until I'm playing the character for a while.
Hmm.
And it's like, oh, that's why they're doing that.
Yeah. On the way back from coronation this weekend, Patrick gave me Jackdaw's backstory.
Oh
It
yeah,
was very interesting. Very interesting.
yes. Well, I mean, that was a deliberate give um, Patrick to carte blanche to go fuck with him. Um, and of course, it
And he did.
interesting because yes, it did. I'm not sure if talked about all of all of the bits of Jackdaw.
You did.
Okay,
Like I
so
said,
so so
that's
you
his
know why he
story.
was taking ballet lessons at the end of the
Yes.
which utterly confused Trevor. I found that hilarious just watching his the eyebrow go up and the brain just the cogs sort of like yes because there's a little trans girl with very good
Hmm.
um pre-pro blank I can't pronounce it but basically very good physical awareness and athleticism who was a casualty in the just random super violence and collateral damage but yeah no she always wanted to be about ballerina so uh, that was a little bit of Jackdaw honoring that part of themselves.
Hmm. Yep. So, anything else we'd like to speculate with Echoes or Grimsby or
Anything
Wondering where
else?
we're going to go with our psychotic little gremlins, goblins, or
I think we need another Oops All Goblins.
yes, because
Like
we didn't
we
finish
just got
we didn't
started.
finish it. Yeah,
There's only
Yeah,
been one. We've had
we finished mid story because we just killed. We didn't even get to loot the body of the spider we killed. And that
Yeah,
is
yeah.
something
Well,
that I've
they
noticed we don't do as players. We very rarely loot the bodies.
well, that's because we're normally not playing murder hobos.
We need a good murder hobo campaign going around in and amongst the short ones, because murder hoboing is a lot of fun, but it can't be every game you do.
No. Um,
What was that one
Also, still loot
video
the
that was
bodies
going
with a
around?
logical reason for our characters, like to figure out why they attacked us and things like that. And, oh, hey, look at this! We found a bag of coin while we were doing that.
yes.
Here's a
Well, I mean,
nifty looking knife.
that is kind of the reason why Harewood didn't go full ham on that boy, because he, foreigner in a foreign land, like absconding with a young boy off the street. Yeah, that's not going to go well. So he was trying to, not make it into a scene, um, which he realized too late nobody was paying attention, possibly because of magical stuff. Um, but then got his ass kicked before the gloves came off. So, be interesting if there's a round two.
Uh-huh.
Because I haven't really delved too far into the whole vicious descriptor on Harewood. Um, so that may be
Yep, we're
interesting when
only
he.
tier one. We
Ducks
are
are
only
evil,
tier
dude.
one. I'm sure
Yeah,
that,
well,
that
no,
your
when he
time will come.
when he cuts loose, he's gonna cut loose. It's not.
Yeah. Having
ducks-
been actually bit by a duck, yeah.
I mean, ducks aren't quite as bad as geese,
nope.
but
No, geese are just
No.
but
Well, and the joke with Harewood is that there is a gray goose somewhere in his family tree. So
way back before they crossed the ocean.
yep. Before the great schism with the Hyonks.
Mess with the hyunk, get the byunk.
Yep.
So with Grimsby, we've had, is it just two or we've done three? I can remember two. Okay.
We have
Trevor
yet to bring Matt into Grimsby.
Hmm?
Matt has not yet played in Grimsby.
Right, because we have the N-1 games depending
Yeah.
on the value of N.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why I don't have the a goblin's character.
Mm-hmm. And I don't have a Blades character.
Yes.
And Matt, you actually have a Grimsby character if you're available when we decide to do that, but that's been our
Yes.
go-to if we are all available except for you.
Yeah.
Which is totally understandable.
Yeah.
And very handy. So it's not like, we can't do it this week because they're not going to be here. And then the next week, someone else is not going to be there. We can actually, we can keep playing. We got stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Although nobody likes to miss out on any of the games too.
That's true. But yeah, Ray, you're welcome to, if we do Blades for whatever reason in the future,
I
and
would
you can
absolutely love that. Yeah, no, I've got I'm down for anything.
Speaking of murder hobos, okay, we aren't quite murder hobos as much as terrorism hobos at this point, but still.
Yeah.
With a bit of really, really fucking weird.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
You guys went for the really, really fucking weird too. That's
Yeah,
kind
Trevor
of on
and I just
y'all.
wanted to
You
do
could have.
something different. Suddenly we came up with the twins.
Yep. Hey, I love it, but
My
you
character
guys.
is so damn normal in that game.
Yeah, and like we didn't have to go down like the cult path. I mean, there were a whole bunch of other types of crews that we could
You
have
all
done.
picked the cult. Y'all picked the cult.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, Trevor and Patrick did, and nobody objected
said no.
strenuously. And I was just
I
like,
was like-
okay, you guys are going for hard mode. That's fine.
Yeah. I think it was just pretty much a case of what's the worst that could happen.
Yeah, and um, yeah, I had in mind how that scene was ending already, but uh, I forget what was going on except for just the general horrors in reality. But I decided, yeah, I think it was you, Julie, actually, who was like, yeah, I just don't want this to be another Eldritch monstrosity. I'm like, okay, why don't we, have that little bit of dread, but also some hope, just to change things up.
Hmm.
Yeah, because I do love me some Lovecraft, but
But
A lot of dark. We really do.
what was that?
We play a lot of dark.
Yes.
yes,
Which
Yeah.
makes me I saw again, I'm so tuned in into gaming content, memes, stories and whatnot. It's like, okay, if you're the GM and you go out to set something, this is going to be dark and serious and cyberpunk. Your the gaming crew is eventually going to turn it into this just absolute laughable.
Keystone Cops kind of thing.
Yes, exactly.
yes, yeah.
However, run a cartoon or something that's supposed to be just light and funny. Hey, let's lighten things up and play fantasy. Just gonna delve into the darkness and find the absolute, what's the worst thing that we could come up with?
Yeah.
And oddly enough, that happened because
Which is kind of why, Patrick, I don't want to run a Beatrix Potter-esque type game, because I don't want to see what y'all would do with Peter Rabbit and Mr. McGregor kind of
Oh
thing.
my god. Yeah.
have you watched Burrow's End on Dimension 20 or the Dimension 20 series Burrow's End? Because that went into Secrets of Nim and Watership Down hardcore, but
Yeah,
with
I'm still
Stoats.
working my way through season 2 or campaign 2 of Critical Role. So
Yeah,
got
I there's just too much to digest with those campaigns. I might do the Candela Obscura
Candle Obscura is
ones.
interesting because they're short, but it's also really
Yeah.
fun to watch the Session 0 episodes for the character creations and things.
Yeah.
Then
I just
each little subgroup is only like 2 or 3 episodes, so it's not that bad for each
Okay.
yeah.
for Candela Obscura.
They're a lot more digestible. It's just the main Critical Role campaigns are just, it's like, yeah, I don't have that kind of time to try and absorb all of that. If I would
Yup.
had
Yeah,
a
I
job where having a podcast in the background was like,
Mhm. Yeah, I'm
maybe
only at
then.
episode
Yeah.
75 of campaign 2, and it's like close to 200 episodes
Oh geez.
Yeah.
for just
Yeah.
campaign 2.
Yeah, that's why other live play shows have a little bit better track record with sticking with, just because there isn't that sheer volume,
Right.
the drinking from the fire hose that is Critical Role. Um,
Yeah, because unfortunately, I can't really put that kind of stuff on in the background while I'm working because,
Mhm.
yeah,
but
It's like when I realized how annoying it was that I couldn't put music on music on in the background when I was writing music.
Mm,
yeah,
Fair
yeah,
enough.
yeah,
that's
Yeah,
rough.
like when I'm arranging stuff, it's like, yeah, I can't. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, what do I want to? No, yeah, just
yeah.
It's like you have to
Doesn't
stop
work.
the audiobook if you're trying to proofread a report.
So one of the things, by the way, out of the powers that be universe, I will guarantee you that Jack is completely able to listen to an audiobook while reading a book. Like he's the only person you've met who can actually do that.
Because he's
Yeah,
got so many different brains in his head.
Yeah. I mean, I
yeah,
understand that's a
Got a bit
total
That's
of
an
life
advanced
goal
thinking
thing for
ability.
some people, but
yeah. That is not a thing that Jackdaw's player can actually do.
It would be nice.
Yeah, but
People keep
no,
selling
if
all of
I'm
those
right,
like speed reading classes. I just want the two things at once class.
yeah. I mean, I can, while I'm writing, have music with lyrics on in the background. That's not as disruptive, but um, and my ability to you know produce music is non-existent there, Ray. So, um, which is kind of funny given who I'm dating. It's,
My father's an art teacher.
and
I can't draw anything. So it happens.
My whole
and
family
I
wonders where the
it,
hell I got the musical talent.
it
They're like,
was
where
actually
the fuck?
funny.
What?
Um, Ice Dragon last year, um, the one she was able to go. You were practicing with like a medieval trumpet,
No, it was
and she was like
this.
ready to murder you. Uh,
Sorry.
well, no, like you were having a little bit getting to tune. It was out of
Oh, this is precision is not really in the description here. It is functional, it is workable. I was able to accomplish the job, but it was they did not make it easy due to just it was a
yeah. No,
$79 instrument that I got online.
no, I get that. I just found it funny because she was like, I'm like, it's okay. I know the guy, you know. Um, and I got up to go talk to you, and like you just were like walking. So like we're literally doing this through the that like I was 50 feet behind you,
Oh
and you're
God.
like walking around, and then you like get in line to process, and I'm like, well, I'm just, after following you for about 10 minutes, like
Oh God, I'm
couldn't
so sorry.
couldn't catch up with you. You just kept on like going here.
So
And I was like, ah.
Ray, I came up with a horrifying idea this weekend.
Oh no.
You need to build a Carrix that is fundamentally operates the same as an automaphone. So you reach up, you squeeze the animal head on it to adjust, the character of the sound coming out, and you slide your finger along it to change the pitch. And so it'd be just really a gigantic upside down automaphone. I think it's doable.
You can't
Yeah,
reach the animal head though. If you're doing it properly.
Have to
There's no
make the-
proper way to play a automaphone of that size.
It's true.
I mean, I
Oh,
think
God.
easier would be to like take the guts out of an automaphone and put them in a automaphone size character. You know,
So it's
as
only
opposed
this
to trying
tall
to,
versus
versus taller than you. Yeah.
Is that Nimbus coming in and out of focus?
in and out, in and out. He's been tapping my face and
Aw.
Yeah.
stuff.
Mom, mom, mom.
Yeah, that's with the especially with the weather having warmed up over my dad's in the screened in porch. The cats are allowed out there, and the game is now in or out, in or out. Come on, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, literally doing especially Luna doing the cat thing of you let her out, she goes out, she hangs out, and then and she's like, okay, I want to go back in, and like 2 minutes later, I want to go back out again. It's like, oh my god, you just came back in.
So, well, I think we've pretty much covered all the topics. So in true Vitruvian meeple fashion, I'm going to go around asking if you got any wishes. So let's start with Matt. You got any wishes for what's coming up?
Well, I mean, yes, well, I mean, there's the perennial, like, want to see what happens next and want to keep gaming with you guys, until we're in a nursing home together.
Life goals.
Life goals. Well, yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens when Harewood wakes up, and where all that leads. And also, what next we do down the road. Interested to see what ECAT and Ray have cooking up. So yeah, that's what I got.
Okay. What about Ray?
My wish is to get to the point where the five of us are on the same page. There's still like we are. Trevor is drawing out the storytelling and the leveling up, which I get and is fine. Damn, that's adorable.
He does cute well.
He does cute very well, yes.
He's very cute and he's nothing motherfucker.
But like there's still a lot of exposition that's just trickling out from most sides. So the characters are still learning about what's really going on, both with themselves and what everybody else has going on. So in the near future, like I'm looking forward, my wish is that we can sit down and actually have some time to breathe and debrief everybody
Mm-hmm.
so that the characters can discuss and the characters can and again, depending on what knowledge you all have about your characters that isn't made public yet, about connections that could happen that lead to what we do next. Because right now, this is sort of the Taquitos show guest starring Zahar's neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm grateful. Like it's cool, but it'll be really interesting when we get to focus on Zell and Julie and Matt more as well and figure out as we level up like okay, act more like a team.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
Yeah.
well then
here,
we'll slide over to Julie.
That's kind of my comment on that, is that I think it's the that's the downside to actually having robust backstories for characters that have vastly different backgrounds and kind of origins is bringing them all together so that everything meshes together. And it does actually, and it does take a while to do. Um and that is not a bad thing at all. It's kind of just a consequence, as opposed to having slightly more limited background and story, and just overall kind of like story, wants and everything for the characters, because it simplifies things. And so yeah, because like at some point, I mean, at some point I definitely would like to continue exploring Seraphina's whole actual literal origin of being a celestial. I mean, so like we've touched on that a little bit, but so she's very much going to be itching to kind of like wrap things up where we are, and kind of continue on their journey to be able to acquire more knowledge to figure out basically, who am I? Because I think, more than anybody else, she has that whole that whole really, really big question. So
Sounds interesting. How about you, Patrick?
So along similar lines, one of the things is with our characters, Seraphina and Zell are in a way related because one is celestial, the other one's infernal. And what the heck are they doing here? Like, because these are, their origins come from entirely different worlds or whatnot, depending on how Trevor has designed the cosmology of his world. So I'm really interested in kind of delving into the reason the two of them are there, and if it is similar to the rest of you, or if they've been brought there for whatever purpose that they're supposed to serve in the overall story, and especially what relates the two of them together is that they
yeah,
didn't just meet by happenstance. They haven't been useful to each other by sheer chance. There's something behind that, and I really look forward to uh, delving into that more. Although on the more wishful side, I also wish for, well, more gaming sessions. Is unfortunately we all have schedules and responsibilities, all being grown as adults and stuff. And I
right.
really look forward to, every session. I love gaming. I love playing. I love running, and just want more of it.
Sounds good. And I will second that completely. I would very much would not say no to more game nights. But, alas, people, like you say, have real lives. Trevor's got a small offspring that has lots of extracurricular activities. And we are not the type to dissuade a parent from being very proactive and involved in their child's lives. So
Yep.
we will
And
take what we can.
Yeah.
But this is
Um,
where having different people who can fill the GM chair can.
Yep.
Yeah. And
If we
like
don't have the continuity of the story, we'll have the continuity of getting together and just discuss going through a different world.
mhm.
like I'm contemplating trying to put something together as well. I'm thinking about actually kind of doing a world building, um basically a modern magic a la Harry Dresden-esque, Dresden Files, kind of thing, where you've got magic and vampires and and the various creatures, but it's set in
Mhm.
now, and someplace, someplace in the US. Not New York, not Chicago, don't want to get into copyright infringement stuff, but even though Jim probably would be fine with it, but like there's other stuff that I've read that, so not a direct
Buffalo
lifting
by
from
night.
any particular source, but inspired by a number of them.
Yeah.
But it'll take me a little while to, start getting that stuff on paper and figure out what actual system will work best.
Yeah. I don't really have any other wishes other than I wish the Kickstarter would end sooner than it is, because I've got all kinds of ideas. But again, also, we just started Echoes when you think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
In game, we're only like 2 weeks in.
Right. And now
And
we
a
have
lot of those,
we were in jail.
yeah.
It's been about 2 weeks.
and a
if that.
lot of those 2 weeks were off camera too. So
Right.
Food.
Right. So we're not saying we want Trevor to rush and finish up the game, because no, we love him and his thick little mind. But I would say that I think this is a good place to stop for sharing our thoughts with everybody.
We get
Yep.
Matt? Trying to remember.
Huh? What was that, Patrick?
Did I stroke out or did we forget Matt?
Oh, he was the first one.
I was the first one.
Okay, so I did stroke out. All right.
Yes.
Do you smell burnt toast?
Gonna stick out my tongue. Let me see if it's straight.
Now smile.
Okay, the downside to spring, even the short hair cat is scooting enough out for
Yeah,
that.
I wouldn't know anything about that. So anyway, on behalf of Ray, Julie, Patrick, Matt, and myself, and this is a Vitruvian Meeple without Vitruvian Meeple. And we wish everybody good night, and we'll see you next time. It's